Hello, everyone. Here with the Founders Vlog, Volume 2, Episode 2, whatever you want to call it. Figured I would document this, keep it going. Hopefully one day this becomes a cool relic of the past. But just some fun updates on this week at the company. First and foremost, last week, for anyone that follows us on LinkedIn, Twitter, you'll see that we did go live in a couple of classrooms, tested at University of Arkansas, as well as St. Joe's. It had some students actually access content and gave them some cool NFTs to play around with. Also kind of just talked more broadly about NFTs and their value in the ecosystem. And, I think that's kind of what prompted this vlog here today, is to kind of go more into what I've been hearing as I go in the field. I think, in a lot of Discord channels and online, you'll kind of get people that are really all in or all against NFTs, and the conversation kind of lacks nuance and isn't particularly beginner friendly. So that was some of what I did last week. Also, starting to refine the product and build more of an end-to-end solution that we will have more information to come as we get ready for our mass rollout here in September. But again, if you are a content creator in the educational world, higher ed or independent, you can send me a DM. Happy to help you get involved in our launch in September and tell you about what we're doing there. So back on to the main topic today. The main topic we're going to be talking about is why you should own an NFT, or what's the point of buying an NFT? And that's a question I got a lot in the classroom. So I think that once you get past the hoopla of day trading NFTs and kind of these marketplaces where art is kind of fluctuating, and you get more into the utility of cryptocurrencies and in this case NFTs, it's like what is the real world value? So I think in the crypto space, we're starting to see it as decentralized exchanges really go more broad. Countries start to embrace cryptocurrencies and use it more for transactions, but it's still young. I mean, I still would say that the majority of transactions are happening on fiat currencies, and that most people are comfortable using, those types of currencies and feel more safe, buying with the US dollar or paying a tax to the US dollar, even if crypto is eligible. Partly because, just of they don't trust it, partly the volatility, partly just because of the experience and how hard it is to really own and have an NFT right now, whether it's gaining access via a wallet, having like a terminal card, like a Coinbase debit or Visa, so on and so forth. It just, it can be a little daunting. So what I want to talk about is kind of the same thing going into the NFT world. So I don't think you're seeing mass NFT utilization quite yet. I don't think that you'll see many people using NFTs to host their events or to join Discord channels, or even to take it into a game and earn credits on it. I think for the most part, it is still kind of that rare art collectible dash community icon type thing. And again, it's going to be kind of some of the similar things I was just talking about with cryptocurrencies, like what's the utility? What's the user experience? Is it really easy to view it and do stuff with it? Or is it really kind of a hassle that doesn't have much benefit over the Web2 counterparts? And what I would like to propose here today is a couple of reasons why I have started to own NFTs and built this NFT company. And again, this isn't going to be too much of a company plug. It's more so just my personal thoughts on the space as someone who is a skeptic and has been kind of studying and working on the technology stack since like 2016, 2017, when I tried to use it for telemedicine. So it's not like I haven't had moments or bouts of skepticism or frustration, but I do think that the future is well worth it. So first and foremost, just for beginners out there, people wondering, why would I buy an NFT or just click this by accident? I think first and foremost, when you buy an NFT, it is on an immutable ledger. So I think proof of ownership and validity of ownership is kind of a cool sub feature of that it is this permanent record that can't be changed, and that when that transaction occurs, it is logged. Now, I say this with a caveat. I think there's legislation still to be passed about what that means exactly. So if you make this transaction online, Are you able to own a security, a property, a real, a Rolex maybe perhaps that's associated? I don't know if that's the case, but if we're talking about just a record of transaction and that proof of ownership, or a verifiable source of truth of transaction, it does provide you that. Which kind of brings me to my first point. I think that NFTs are best used when they are verifying something that is digitally native or can be verified within a community more so than a market exchange a lot of times. Now, I know people running NFT real estate firms. I know people that are trying to securitize assets with it and fractional share out their NFTs. All of these can be cool ideas. And again, just not a space I'm particularly in. I'm more of a e-commerce, consumer product guy. So these could be really cool assets and instruments of, these high value items or these types of financial products. But for me, I see it as really as a cool way to kind of monetize things that kind of live on the digital space or in the metaverse space. So whether it's the NFT represents a gaming item, or perhaps it represents ownership of, like we're doing, digital text or access to a digital community. I think that's where the NFT thrives. Again, could you issue some sort of a Web 2 product that could sell and buy things and recognize that an address made the buy? Yes. Is it as safe or secure, and does it really work in an ecosystem as well as I think an NFT and a blockchain does? No. And to explain that more in detail, I think that when you say ecosystem, it should mean that it goes beyond just I'm on website x.com, I buy the thing, I get the thing. I think that it should be that when you buy something online, you suddenly have ownership and can do things with it across multiple websites. Just like how when you have a photo on Facebook, you can bring it onto Instagram because they're on the same hub. It's somewhat of an ecosystem. Although they own the data and the photo, you don't. I think that the same could be true of a true NFT ecosystem where someone is buying a book or they're buying a game item, and suddenly when you take this game item into a different application or a different world or product line, suddenly it has new attributes, but it's always tied to you, and the ownership of it is always giving utility across multiple applications. Now, if you go to MetaMask right now, you'll see your NFTs are there, and you can connect your MetaMask to a number of applications online, such as ours. And you'll see that depending on if that application interacts or interfaces with that smart contract, that NFT, things might happen. This is still young. I mean, you're not going to get that true level of ecosystem or utility yet, but I think that June of this year, December of this year, heck, it's even on the timeline, December of 2024, you're going to see a lot there. And I think that that's cool that suddenly when you buy something from a creator, it can kind of have its own shelf life, and that you can own it and resell it, or you can do stuff with it. And that this has kind of not been possible before. It's kind of like if you think of in real life, a bazaar, a yard sale where you're kind of buying and selling, you kind of had, eBays and things like that you could buy and sell on and do that with physical. And this is kind of the digital equivalent, where it's going to be moving much faster and be much more powerful and have much more utility than just, the eBay example. Maybe you bought a sports card or a lawnmower, and now you're going to resell it. That's very like, Web 2. I would say in Web 3, maybe you buy the NFT lawnmower and suddenly you're using it in a game, and in another space, you're using it to do something, get some asset in decentralized land. Who knows? I mean, I would say that a lot of this is speculative, and maybe it's hand wavy or wishful thinking, but I think a lot of it really is based in reality. So, I think as the basics of it, I think that that's kind of why I started to get more into the NFT space, is just because I really think this is a cool future and a cool way to do digital assets and ownership in the future. Now, I think on the other side of it, the reason to own an NFT as a creator, more specifically, is that it's a more fair way to, I think, monetize things online. So I think that when I was going into classes this past week, I talked about really the music industry, because it's so accessible, especially to young people, to understand that SoundCloud or Spotify, that in the old days, if a song was getting millions and millions of plays, whether it's through people buying their discs or going on a radio station, it would monetize much more cleanly because it was being tracked, or there was a contract in place. Now it was much more slow moving and much more controlled because the record industry would broker those deals. So we moved past that, and then we were on Spotify, where suddenly you could have millions of views and or listens, and yeah, it would be great. I mean, you'd still you'd make decent chunk of change, but nowhere near what you did before. And in fact, those intermediaries sometimes had ownership rights to the songs, or you could really get in trouble with them taking, basically the ad revenue from those millions of streams and converting it mostly for themselves, less so for you. So I think we've now gotten to a place where we should be able to hybrid these things, where you can get mass distribution quickly without like a record label or a central authority, but also think that like you should get paid fairly for it. That if you have these people that are finding you online, that they're not finding you online and basically paying the distributor, that they're paying you because you created it, and that you're able to cycle and support, interact with those fans, get feedback, I don't know, give them swag, whatever it is, and just rethinking how content is done. Again, I think for us, this is particularly important because if you think about higher education, it's been such a even with the Udemy's and the MOOCs of the world, it still is always like controlled, or it's always you buy in or you apply to get it, and then does the employer want it? And there's just never been that end to end of like registration from class all the way to placement of job really clean, and really like you kind of own that whole pathway. And I think that with what we're doing and with Educoin and even more broadly with NFTs and blockchain tech, you're just going to see more of these end-to-end solutions be possible and turned on, because you just don't need the central authorities. You just have people transacting honestly online, and that's enabled, I guess, by this ledger. And is it at scale yet? And is it really, are even the costs feasible yet, with gas fees? I would say neither of those are true, but I think where it's heading is really just a powerful place where if you create something and you want to transact with it and then have that creation have a life of its own, that's what we're kind of grappling with here. And I think that that's something that Web 2 started with this creator economy, and that Web 3 will really take to the next level. So I know I've talked about this in the previous video, so I don't want to go too much a high horse, but that's why I would own an NFT. That's why I recommend NFTs. I think, again, they answer questions that previous solutions do not. And I think that hopefully that there will be more apps and more accessibility to pulling data and using it and monetizing what you own online, rather than it being kind of controlled by a few hubs and what that comes all across with. And again, those, they still might exist, but I think for some areas it's really ripe for change. Education, healthcare, gaming, music, they all have opportunities. So that's my founders vlog for this week. Again, check out educoinapp.com. Contact me if you want to learn more, have questions, want to use it in any setting. And I hope you enjoy these.